so glad that so many of you signed up tonight. I know we put a special email out about this because there's just wonderful things to share with all of you. And Bev, I haven't been listening, just watching the chat. Have you told people about Q&As tonight?
Yes,
yeah.
I did.
Okay, so we'll take a few at some point, but we just have so much to cover, and I'm excited about that. So I want to thank Bev. She's always the great, the warm-up act for this evening. And it's funny, many of you probably by now know that tomorrow I start a 7-week mediumship class hosted by the Shift Network online, live every week for 7 weeks. And I hope that many of you are joining me for that. We've had wonderful response to that. But today we had our last organizational meeting for that. And I have a woman named Natalia who I said, well, you're going to be my Bev for this this class because it's being done by Zoom. And they had this meeting to teach me how to do the ins and outs of Zoom and how to interact with the course coordinator. And I said, no worries, we do this every month. Bev is just so good at it. So I just am so grateful to Bev for making everything run smoothly. Okay, so by the way, if you didn't know about that course, it's not too late to sign up, and you can just make a note and go to sacredcallofmediumship.com to sign up for that. You can sign up for it up until 2 weeks after the start. So I'll announce that again at the end. Yay! And I want to give a special shout out to the Souls Awakening group that's gathering in Maine right now. I just love that you're all around and watching together. Can just feel the love, but really I feel that the group energy from all of us from all over the world, it's just exciting. Who was it? I think Bev, was it you that just reminded me how it was several years ago in a channeling session that my guide Sanaya said, you will be using technology, all of you, to get the spiritual message out far and wide, and look how that's happening. It's just beautiful. So tonight I'm going to be sharing additional teaching that follows last month's sharing about how all of us are blended beings. And what that means is we all are expressions of Source, and Source, when it first just bubbled up and had to create some expression of itself, the expressions were formless, and we'll call that level light beings, the light being level. And we're souls that, in a word, are descendants of light beings. It's a stepping down of the energy. A more dense energy from just pure light is a soul that takes on personality and goes out and plays roles. And those souls get to choose what vehicle they will use to have an experience in a chosen reality. And our souls chose the human body to have an experience in the earthly experience. And as we mentioned last month, the human body comes with certain traits, and not all of them good, not all of them bad, but they're very separate from our soul nature. I'm going to be going more into depth on that and then expanding in a way that I never foresaw last month. About a week or two after that mentoring session last month, I went to Scottsdale, Arizona to speak at the Soul Summit Scottsdale. And it was a 3-day conference. The third day I was scheduled to do a workshop. And the workshop was 3 hours. It wasn't due to start until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I woke up and had a visitor, an unexpected visitor from across the veil. And the teaching that ensued from that was so profound that I changed the whole first hour of the 3-hour workshop. It took me the 6 hours leading up until that workshop to, first of all, sort it all out in my mind, all of this teaching, to put it in order, because it is just the most incredible web. And then to put it to slides and present it. We had about 100 people that attended that workshop, and I could tell they were very intently listening and soaking up everything, because it's kind of deep teaching, all about who we are and how it is that we're all so connected by this web of consciousness. And so on the spot, I invited all of them to be my guests tonight anybody who wanted to, because they'd already paid a nice sum for the workshop. So I wanted them to have a chance to hear it again, because we didn't plan on it and hadn't filmed it. So this material is the second half of tonight, the same as I presented at this workshop. And I'm thrilled that we're recording this now, so that all of you will be able to go back and listen again and again and again if you need to, just for clarity's sake, because I truly know that a lot of it will speak to your soul and help you to integrate more of the human aspect of you with the soul, to further understand who you really are as a blended being. And that's the word that I've started using for you, as that soul, that expression of the light being that's an expression of source, and a human body. The two of those together make up you with a name on it. But that name, like for example, Suzanne, is not the soul. The soul is free of the name whenever it chooses to be, yet still identified by that name even after we pass the veil, cross the veil. That will make more sense to you as we go along. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I am going to change the view over here. Give me just a second. I don't know how to do that. Okay, I know. I'll go back to gallery view for a sec, and then we'll try to sneak back. Okay, so when Sanaya gave me this teaching last month, they said to tell everybody who would hear it, these are seeds. So what we're doing tonight is just putting insights into your awareness. Some of it you may already know. Some of it may be the first time you've heard these things taught this way. And the more you review it and ask for guidance from your own team, the more you'll understand it. I want to start this evening, however, by sharing what happened to me this week. I wrote about it in a special blog. So if those of you who get the Daily Way with Sanaya's messages read the inspirations post I did earlier this week, you've already heard this story, but hopefully you won't mind hearing it again. And those of you who clicked the button on Facebook also heard it. It's my tarot card experience, but it's just the perfect way to preface this evening to talk about, is all of this real? Is this earthly reality in which we live real? We ask that question a lot when things like the experience I'm about to share with you happen. And just this morning was shown beautifully by Sanaya, a wonderful term to use to replace the word real or unreal, so that we can really wrap our heads around what's going on here. If you were part of the webinar, I think it was 2 months ago, could have been 3 months ago, I shared the experience with you of sitting in meditation and having my guides say, pull a tarot card. This is a trick that we do, my guides and me, every once in a while, because it's fun. I don't do tarot. I don't do a whole spread of cards. They just occasionally will say, pull a card, and it's incredibly meaningful. The tarot deck has 78 cards. I really haven't studied all of them, but 22 of the 78 cards are kind of like the Jack, Queen, and King in a deck of cards. They're the big guys, the heavy hitters, and the rest are the minor cards. So that time, about 2-3 months ago, when they said pull a card, Sanaya said, we are going to show you just how unreal this reality is. And they said, you will pull the Hierophant card. Now, I have done some slides this evening to help make this clear, because everybody's going to say, what the heck is a Hierophant? It is that card right there. You seeing that, Bev?
Yes.
Okay. So I was enough familiar with the deck that I knew what the Hierophant card was. I couldn't have told you really what it meant, but when they said you will pull the Hierophant card, I was filled with such a sense of knowing beyond any doubt that that was the card I was going to pull, even though it was one of 78 cards. I stood, I walked to the cabinet in my RV where we keep those cards. I pulled it down, I shuffled, I looked down, I picked up a card, I turned it over and I went, because even though I knew that moment of turning it over and seeing, and I'll pull it up again. Oh, I have to see it again. That card in front of me was not so much the surprise, but the validation that when Spirit speaks, we can trust it. When we know it in our heart that this is Spirit speaking. There is no other way to explain that. And I'm going to tell you how all of this works as we go along tonight. So I have kept that Hierophant card sitting beside me where I meditate every morning ever since then. It's just a reminder every day that we are part of something so much greater than this blended being, this story, put your name on it. So it was just a few days ago, not even a week ago, I sat to meditate, feeling a little gunked up first thing in the morning. I remember having a disturbing dream and, you know, normal human stuff. You wake up feeling sometimes great, sometimes eh, and that's how I was feeling that day, a little bit eh. So I sat to clear my chakras, clear out the gunk first thing, and just as I got going, Sanaya is present immediately and said, pull a card. Well, I'm not feeling real great. I did not have that certainty that I did a couple months ago with the Hierophant. I didn't want to be disappointed. As they said in my ear, you will pull the Emperor card this time. And I recognized immediately that I was in full human mode, because my first thought was, oh, what if I don't? And I want all of you to feel the difference between knowing, the way I described that Hierophant experience, knowing that was going to happen, and the human, what if I don't? It energetically is just tremendous. So trying to be positive, and I'm going to teach you this evening that trying is not nearly the same as knowing what you know. I stood up, I went to the cabinet, I pulled out the cards, I shuffled them, and I kind of had a feeling I was supposed to pick this certain card. And I turned it over, and I'll show you which one I saw. It was this one. I recognize this card right away. It's the Nine of Swords. I had pulled it about a week earlier when a friend asked for some advice, and very strangely, instead of giving me an answer when I went to Sanaya for the answer, they told me to pull a card. And this is the card that I pulled. So I had just about a week previously read the description of what this card means. It's the Nine of Swords. It's not one of the major cards. And what you see here is a woman waking from a bad dream. She's out of sorts, and she clearly feels like life is not good because we have swords over the head. And the card said, this is the perfect part of this lesson. The meaning of this card is you're too much in your head. Now listen, isn't that exactly the state of mind at which I went at that card? I had just literally come out of a nightmare, an unpleasant dream. I was feeling gunked up. And my human side, the human vessel, the energetic part of the human body was interfering with what my soul knows, that we are the light. And I allowed it to dominate as I went and thought, is this really going to work? And I pulled up, not the Emperor card, but the perfect card to describe what I was radiating. Now, this is my story, but hopefully you are now at this moment thinking of times when you have talked yourself out of what your soul knows. So in that moment, the guides stepped in as I'm looking at that card, and they said, now do what you have experienced. Do what you teach. And I teach in my classes how to step into the power. And that power is the light. That power is what flows through you. That power is source. Your soul is a stepped down version of the power, yet it can't be separated from that power. And when we know that, and we come to know that by sitting in the power in meditation, it doesn't have to be powerful like this. It can be pure peace and pure love. That is also the power, but it is completely positive, uplifting, benign when you are aware of being the power. So having pulled the wrong card, which was perfect as a teaching tool, the Nine of Swords, they said, now pull the Emperor. And I stepped into the power just as I had learned to do through experience when I do a demonstration of mediumship and demonstrate for an audience that spirit is here. You cannot do that yourself. As a medium, you must step into the power. And I just stepped into the awareness that we are the light. And I shuffled the cards, holding that awareness as the excitement built, because I knew it was going to happen. And I looked down and my eyes were drawn exactly to which in those upside down cards I was to turn over. I turned it over, and you know the rest. There it is. I turned over the Emperor card. Whew. So I will be honest with you. This time I didn't gasp. This time I got a little quiet and I said, pardon me, holy shit. And the reason I'm sharing with you now exactly what I said is because my guide said, no, holy shift. It's perfection, those two phrases juxtaposed. I hope that I've done a good job of explaining to you the difference in what was radiated. And I want you to think about what you give out in every moment. We can't always be radiating that kind of power, but we can be aware that it is within us always. And all we have to do is shift. That's what I teach in my 7-step Bless Me method, that holy shift to not another dimension out there, but another state of our being, a state of awareness of who we are. And this whole evening is dedicated to celebrating that and to coming to understand more, because I hope every one of you listening right now says, I want that. I want some of that. I want to approach life with that sense of knowing I am that. I had to make the slides tonight. I had at first thought I would bring the cards and just hold them up and show them to you, but I had to make the slide because I forgot I was going to show them to you. And a couple hours earlier, I framed those 3 cards in one glass frame. The Hierophant, the 9 of Swords, and the Emperor. And they're going in my new meditation room when we move into our house, front and center where I'll see it. Why do I need a reminder? Because we walk around in human bodies, and this body is designed to keep us very grounded, and it does a good job of that. And we have always human challenges, and I know I'm going to face one here pretty soon with my little Rudy, my dog. And you know what? We're here to be human. And if we didn't react humanly to certain human things, then what's the point of being here? But I know that when we're going through our challenges, and when you go through yours, if you have reminders around you of who you are, then we can make that holy shift in the midst of any challenge and know with certainty all is well. So normally we do an invocation and intention setting first thing, but You are all now in that state with me. You've been carried along in this energy. So let's just join our hearts together, won't we? Just join me and close your eyes for a moment. Take in a nice breath and exhale any tension you're feeling. Just exhale longer than you inhaled. And now breathe in that power. Even if you've never truly known what it feels like, every time you breathe in the power, and you get to turn it up. Just turn up your light and feel the rays going out, connecting with each other here. Now we set the intention for this evening. Knowing ourselves as the light, may each of us come to know ourselves as this light tonight. Our intention is that we each hear exactly what we need to hear for our own soul's growth, so that our soul becomes the dominant aspect of our awareness, always aware of our human side, learning whatever lessons we can from each experience that we have here, but growing and growing and growing in awareness of ourselves as souls and ultimately as light beings, and beyond that, merging as one into the universal field of light from which all arises. May we understand at a wholly new level this evening, and as a result, may we go forth after this experience radiating a higher vibration, so that we also help others to step into the power. And so it is. Whew. Thank you so much. All right. Why don't you all practice raising your hand by clicking the button? We'll lift things a little. It's already getting really powerful here. So you just push that button, and then I know that you're with me and we're all in this together. Awesome. And I know some people will be joining us late and some won't be listening live, but I have news for you. Every time you listen to this video, you will pick up that same power again. That's just embedded in the words and the energy in the experience, okay? So that word experience that I just used came up in this morning's message from Sanaya, and poor Ty, or was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or today. Poor Ty, I come out of meditation and he's been working on documents for our new house, and we're dealing with banks and loans, and just, he's all out of balance. And I come out and I was just saying, Ty, I have to explain to you what I just learned from the team. This is so cool. And he stood there, such a sweetheart, listening and nodding and smiling as I rambled and rambled. It was yesterday. And I said, I know that probably maybe went a little over your head, but you just helped me to put into words what was given to me in one big download. So let me just back up a bit and tell you what prefaced this whole explanation about what experience means. Let me check with the team a second here. Okay, when all of this happened with the tarot cards, and another experience happened last month with my kayak. I bought a kayak in Savannah, over an hour away from where we're staying in our bus. It was a used kayak, but very unique, a unique paint job. 2 days later, Ty and I took the kayak out near here for a paddle, right near here. So now 5-10 minutes away from home, but a good hour from where I bought it. And as I'm paddling, using that time to contemplate, to be present with Spirit, I asked Spirit, show me just how unreal this reality is. Then I remembered, and this is good advice for all of you, to add, but please do it in a positive way. May I be safe, may it be fun. I didn't want any scary things happening. So we pulled our kayaks out of the water. About 15 minutes later, Ty went to get the car to load the kayaks, and this woman walked up to me and said, "That's my kayak." I was blown away. It's a one-of-a-kind ever kayak. She had it designed. Of all the places there are in this new area where we are to put in kayaks, and this area is filled with boat launches, and an hour away from where she put it on consignment, we come together like that at that exact moment, I just looked skyward and said, good one, team. Because that just doesn't happen unless there's some kind of string pulling happening. And I realize now, and the guides are saying, they're taking credit for putting the question in my mind at that moment. Just how unreal is this? Knowing from the higher perspective that the two of our paths were converging. I hope you understand that. It wasn't Suzanne's thought to ask the question. It came from the soul, or perhaps even they're saying the light being level, to ask, so that now I can share the story with you and talk about unreal versus real. So we have the kayak issue, and then we have the tarot card experience. And I sit here and I say, is this world a simulation? I asked this in meditation 2 days ago. Is this like a virtual reality? Are we all programmed? Is there a higher consciousness really just like the movie The Matrix, making all of this happen? How do we explain this? And then I said, if this is a virtual reality, I would like a sign. And as I teach all of you, ask for specific signs. So I said, if this is a virtual reality, I would like the sign of a VCR, because it has the letters V and R, like virtual reality. I would like to see a VCR. And the second that came out of my mouth, I thought, ooh, that's a tricky one. When have any of you seen a VCR lately, right? I don't remember ever. But it always comes with a knowing that something's going to happen. So a day and a half later, 3 o'clock in the morning, just the other night, I couldn't sleep. And that's usually because something's going to happen or some teaching's going to ensue. And I got up and I went out and I sat in the living room of our bus. And pretty soon Ty couldn't sleep because I wasn't beside him. And he comes out. He starts going through emails. And he said, oh, I started laughing. You got to look at this one. And he sent me an email with all of these funny cartoons in it. And I normally don't look at those. I wait till later. But something made me look through it. And I'm looking through these cartoons. And I got to the end and Sanaya said, you missed it. And so I went back and all of a sudden I noticed there was this cartoon that was crossing out all of these old things in our culture. And one of them was the word Betamax. And I said, wait a minute, what's a Betamax? And I Googled it. If you Google what a Betamax machine looks like, I held up the picture. I said, Ty, what is this a picture of? And he said, it's a VCR. And I said, not exactly. It's a Betamax. And I asked Sanaya, what's up with this? They said, because this reality is not exactly a virtual reality. You all have free will. You are equal players. You're not being totally programmed from some higher level. And so what they taught me is, I don't know about you, but I get a little upset when I hear other spiritual teachers say, this is a dream, or this reality is an illusion. Because when we're going through our challenges, it's more like a nightmare if it's really a dream. This body does not seem like an illusion. It doesn't seem like a simulation, but I can see how it might be because I've actually sat in a virtual reality scenario and it does, you do get totally drawn into it. So I said to Sanaya, well then what is this? If it's not a dream, if it's not an illusion, if it's not unreal, if it's not a simulation. And the answer was so simple. I love to share it with you now. They said, it is simply an experience. It's an experience of source, of consciousness, of the light bubbling up, pulsing out, radiating, taking form. This is the earthly experience. And when you pass from your body, you will have the disembodied experience, yet that will be an experience of consciousness. And the teaching is all there is experience. And we experience life through 3 different aspects of experience in human form. Sensations, then we have 5 physical senses. Thoughts, that's the mental aspect of experience. And feelings, that's the emotional aspect. I call it stuff, STF. Sensations, thoughts, and feelings. Think about it. What do you have other than experiences of sensations, thoughts, or feelings? And it's all very real. So if you think about it, everything is consciousness. Light beings are having an experience. Souls are having an experience. You as a human being are a blended human body and a soul. This is the earthly experience. So I don't even like using the word realm anymore or dimension. It's simply an alternate experience of the one reality, which is we are the light in expression. I hope that's meaningful to you. It might be a good time to just stop and see if anybody has any questions about that. Yeah, so just take a second while I look at my cards and make sure that I've covered what I wanted to so far. Yay. Everybody's probably going, what? I love that I can see Bev when I say funny things because nobody's asking any questions. So just soak it up. But for me, just we're having an experience in a human body. It's not a dream. It's like God's dream because we will come out of this earthly experience, but the experience continues without a body. And then we get to choose another experience with a different rule set. Maybe we'll come back and have another earth experience, but our souls could very well, they say, yes, they are having alternate experiences in alternate realities, each with their own set of rules. Like Earth has gravity and night and day, and that's the earthly experience. So I just love it. It allows us to say, yes, it's real because that's all there is. So there is only experience. And this really helps us understand what my friend Brenda, who passed to the other side 1.5 years ago, meant when she said, there is only here. Because if you're having an experience, there's only here in experience. It's consciousness, and we are expressions of consciousness. It's one big web of experience. And I want to share with you my latest Brenda experience that I had earlier this week that has catapulted my mediumship to a new level. And since I'm here to teach all of you how to connect better, I'm going to share it with you because that's what we want to do, right? Connect more across the veil. So I have a system that I teach everybody. Come up with a system to recognize when a spirit comes into your awareness, what the relationship is of that spirit to your client or your sitter. In my case, I feel mothers and grandmothers over here. I feel fathers and grandfathers over here, children over here, and I get pulled there. And up until about a month ago, I've been reading with my eyes closed for greater concentration, but I was told start doing readings always with your eyes open. To me, I didn't bother opening my eyes all the time because I do not normally see the spirits objectively. It's all in here instead of seeing the form of a spirit in front of me. Well, I asked Spirit, I would like to see you more. It's been my ongoing prayer, my ongoing intention to see Spirit. And a couple days ago, my friend Brenda dropped in. And I'd go like this because she always drops in right here. And when she talks to me, I talk to her as if she's standing here, although to me, standing is not the right word because I'm just aware of her being here. Well, she dropped in and in her normal sassy way, she said, are we ready to keep me from being stuck over here? And I said, well, I would love to see you. And in my awareness, Brenda moved in front of me and sat on the end of the bed. I was meditating in the chair that I always put at the end of the bed each morning in our RV. And she sat on the end of the bed. Now I have to explain what I mean by that. Nothing changed in my vision. No, I didn't see Brenda's face, even in my mind's eye. Yet there was just a knowing, that's the best way to put it, an awareness that she was sitting there. And I was aware of her even making hand motions. And she was saying, we are really here in the room with you, Suzanne. Any spirit that comes is not just in your awareness. We are energetically here. And this is the key to all of this teaching, this part right here. For all of you, Brenda made the point that the room in which I was sitting is an experience. It's sensations, solidness. I see it, I feel it. It's an experience, but it is literally no more solid than you and I are. Because if we were to just drill down everything that appears to be solid, we get it from what appears to be solid, it goes down to molecules, right? Take the molecules down into subatomic particles, go to the very smallest particle, and it dissolves into what? Energy events, energetic fluctuations from the 0-point field. Everything is simply energy. So what Brenda was saying is the room in which you're sitting is just energy. It's an experience. And I am energy, but consciousness. You are experiencing me. So that's why I'm literally here with you. There's only here. I got that. I hope you do understand what I'm talking about here. But what was so cool for me was for the first time I allowed myself to trust she was really sitting on that bed, that I could become aware of her making motions and sitting there. And then she stood up. It was just a knowing. I didn't see it with my physical eyes because we don't need to. This was soul to soul knowing. She moved in front of me, acting all sassy. And she looked at me, and without words, I communicated to her, you know, I need the evidence. And she always gives me something going on in our mutual friend Lynette's life currently. And I know Lynette is tuned in with all of her friends right now. And it was a sacred, sacred moment because I knew if Brenda could give me evidence of something with Lynette in that moment, then I could completely trust that every soul in a reading is not just an awareness, it's what I've been teaching all along. They're right here, yet I had not had that experience more than a handful of times. But she's telling me they are always here. There is only here. She sashayed in front of me, looked at me, and made this big motion as if she was putting lipstick on. And she said, Lynette has new lipstick. And it's the same color she likes. That's significant because a couple months ago, Lynette sent me an email bemoaning the fact that the same lipstick she's used for years that she absolutely loved was no longer available. But that was the last I'd heard of that. So here's Brenda saying Lynette has new lipstick and it's the same color she likes. Well, that would be wonderful. And the moment she delivered that message, I watched in awareness Brenda walk into my closet, almost like a joke, because that's what we hear ghosts doing, right? They walk through walls. And Brenda walked through the door of the closet, the closed door, disappearing, even though I never saw her. I just knew what she was doing in my awareness. And she very sassily said, ta-ta, which is hilarious because I knew I would not make up that kind of language. This is very clearly coming from Brenda. So in the middle of this meditative experience, with eyes open, I picked up my phone and I text Lynette. And I don't remember what I said, something about what's up with the lipstick, or tell me what's, Brenda just said you have new lipstick. I think I said exactly what she said. And of course, the text coming back is one of these OMGs. That morning, even though it was only 7 o'clock, Lynette was preparing to get on a flight. So she said, at 4:30 this morning, I opened a brand new tube of my favorite lipstick and even stared at it, thinking, oh boy, a whole new tube. What better evidence can we get than that? Current events. So what's the point of this for all of us? Everything is simply consciousness dancing with itself. Lynette and Brenda and I are consciousness bubbling up. You are consciousness bubbling up as a soul that blended with the body to become a blended being, to have these experiences. That's what it is in this earthly experience. And it's very real. And we learn and grow from it right now. Hopefully we're all growing in awareness. And the best part of it is the joy of when we reawaken to who we've always been, You are the light, that power. Wow, what a week it's been. And so what's really cool is I went from that morning to speak, it was Sunday, this is Tuesday, yeah. I went to speak to the Helping Parents Heal group in Bluffton, South Carolina. I was the guest speaker. And I've been a medium practicing, working professionally as a medium for 10 years. And I can sit one-on-one with you and bring through your loved ones, no problem in almost every case. I've gotten to the point where I confidently step into the power and could do demonstrations of mediumship. But until Sunday, one of my biggest frustrations was if somebody comes up to me at an event, I did not sense their loved ones. And Brenda says, it's because you didn't fully trust we are right here. I know the loved ones are there, but any of you who have attended some of my workshops where I say, I know your loved ones are here with us, but I just can't see them. That was a block for me, even though I know they're there. Well, the first woman that walked in as we were standing in the lobby at that meeting, waiting for it to start, she started talking. I looked up and I absolutely knew she had a son who passed and that he was about a foot taller than her, and he was blowing smoke rings around her. Clouds of smoke. I couldn't see it objectively at all. It was a knowing. And I reported this to her and she started half laughing, half crying and saying, yeah, I have a son and he's towered over me and he used to vape all the time. And we had this big joke about blowing smoke rings. And everybody who came up to me at the book table afterwards, I sensed their loved ones, because of course they're right here. They're right here. So when I share with you that it just keeps getting better, your connection with anybody who has passed, as a medium, if you're working as a medium, with your own higher self, will just keep getting better. As you come to know who we are, as you embrace that, as you acknowledge what parts of your journey you really don't trust in yourself, what parts you don't believe, what needs to open up more. So I hope that I'm just modeling for you how we just set the intention of always raising our vibration, of understanding who we are, and as we'll get into in the second hour here today, of integrating what we know into our daily lives. Ultimately, we are here to extend unconditional love because that's our true nature as souls. And when we start seeing each other as fellow souls, fellow lights, in this shared, co-created experience, then that unconditional love comes naturally. Comes naturally. Wow. Bev.
Yes.
think I need a break for a second. Why don't you tell people about, I'm just going to stay here, but come down to earth a little bit. Why don't you share about the development circles?
Okay, sure. You've heard us talk about development circles or mediumship circles or spiritual development circles. What we're talking about is a group of 8 to 10 people who get together usually every week. In our case, online, because you're spread out all over. And it's a safe way to share and to practice connections, mediumship, or just connecting with higher consciousness if you don't intend to be a medium. And what we've done is ask people to respond to me. If you're interested in being part of a development circle, just send me an email and I'll put that on the recording and I'll put it here in the chat box. Easy, my name, bevgarlop@gmail.com. And tell me where you're located, because I try to make the circles easy in time zones, so easy to schedule for folks. We have a leader for a new circle already, so all I need are 8 to 10 people who would like to join a development circle, and we'll put you together with the leader. We have a circle getting started in the UK, or in a time zone that's good in the UK area. Also Australia. So a special call out to you in those areas. And I've had another request for a circle that would be people interested in animal communication. So lots of options there. If you're interested in being part of a development circle, just email me. Give me your name and your location. And Suzanne and I are not part of these circles. We put you together, we turn it over to you, and you take it from there. Anything I left out, Suzanne?
That sounded great, Bev. That was just right. Thank you. Okay. So we're just going to keep moving forward here. I was just looking at my notes. I had some little things, but I'm being told it would be better to get right into the slides that I have slides that go along with the next part of the teaching that arose from this experience I had at the Soul Summit in Scottsdale. So you'll be able to see me off in the little corner, but I want you to watch the slides as I go along here. Okay. All righty. Let me pull those up. There's that emperor. Okay, so I'll be off in the corner now. This next part is all with pictures. As I mentioned, I was at the Soul Summit Scottsdale last month, and by way of background, on July 7th last year, so about a year and a quarter ago, I did a reading for a couple named Lisa and Lou Lanuski. They've allowed me to share all of this with you. And who you see here is their beautiful daughter, Amber. And Amber came through in that reading. In fact, it was such a funny reading because Lou and Lisa were on Zoom and I could see them. And I would say, well, Amber is showing me this. And several times, one of them would say, yes, and the other would say no. And I would laugh and I'd say, well, which is it? I know it's a yes because she's showing me this. And they would, one of them was having a little bit of psychic amnesia, as we say. So most of the things were quite accurate. We captured Amber's personality beautifully. They could tell that their beautiful daughter was right there with us, right here, right? It was only here, right? And near the end of the reading, I said, I'm seeing a bunch of frogs all of a sudden. There's a slide of a frog. I said, it could be that Amber has a collection of frogs, or maybe you've interacted with a frog. I'm not really getting why I'm seeing the frogs. And in this case, both Lisa and Lou shook their heads and said, we don't have any connection with frogs. And so I said what any good medium who knows what they're seeing says, just remember I said it. So Little did I know that the day before the reading that I did for Lisa and Lou, a friend of mine named Cheryl Page, who is tuned in this evening. Hello, Cheryl. You said I could tell anything this evening. I hope you don't mind me showing your picture. Little did I know that the day before the reading that the frogs came in with Amber, Cheryl Page asked her deceased partner, Scott, AKA Froggy, that's his nickname, to give her a sign through Suzanne Giesemann, because the next day, Saturday, was Froggy's 1-year angel date, the day that he passed. So here I am doing a reading on Saturday. Frogs show up in my reading the day that Cheryl Page has asked her friend, Froggy, to give her a sign through me on his angel date. But I didn't sense Scott. I had brought him through in a reading quite a while back. I didn't sense his presence. I only saw the frogs. All right. So Cheryl, unbeknownst to me, was disappointed when she got no sign on her angel date because I didn't call her. I didn't make the connection. But a couple days later, I reached out to Cheryl for the first time in a long time to ask for a mutual friend's phone number. And Cheryl casually commented, well, I made it through Scott's anniversary. And suddenly in my mind's eye, I am shown Lisa and Lou's reading. And I said, wait, I did a reading for a woman on July 7th and all these frogs showed up. Is that the date? And she said, yes, July 7th. And I said, Cheryl, you got your message after all, right on the date. So what I did was I sent an email to Lisa and I told her, don't worry about figuring out what the frogs had to do with Amber. We had an interloper in your reading, a guy named Froggy. Hey, Bev, I'm going to ask you, are you following all of this?
I am.
Okay, then if you are and everybody else hopefully is too.
Okay.
So as a result of that exchange between me and Cheryl and then me and Lisa, unbeknownst to me, Lisa and Cheryl became Facebook friends. So just hang on to that thought. So the last morning of the Soul Summit, I awoke at 6 a.m. and I had this absolutely crazy thought, wouldn't it be nice to do a reading today? And why that's crazy is because I'd already done 2 or 3 events at the conference, which were high energy, and I had a 3-hour workshop coming up. I like to conserve my energy, and I usually don't do readings at workshops. And I thought, why in the world would I be thinking of doing a reading today? And suddenly I became aware of a presence. And this person stepped in. I could tell it was a woman, and she flashed in my mind's eye the image of Lisa Lanuski, who you see here in this slide. Now, this is funny because Lisa was at the Soul Summit. Every time I walked through the lobby of the hotel, there's Lisa. It was crazy. Like, you know, you see certain people over and over, but Lisa was there every time. She might not have seen me, but I clearly suddenly understood I was being snagged every time by noticing Lisa, and it was her daughter. And I clearly understood that Amber wanted me to bring her mom in and give her a reading that morning. And I thought, okay, that shouldn't be too much of an energy drain because we've already brought Amber through and she's clearly right here. So I picked up my phone in the dark at 6, what's the time there? 6:17. This is a screenshot. I typed an email to Lisa because I only had her email address. And I said, I think we were just set up by Amber. Want to see if we can talk to her this morning? It's my gift to all of you. And then what happened after that is while I'm waiting for Lisa to see her email, Amber starts telling me all these things. I leaned over and these are my notes where I wrote down what Amber was telling me. And I said, Amber, stop. We need to do this when your mom is here. Stop giving me information. So I texted Lynette and said, can you find me Lisa Lanuski's phone number? I'm hoping this doesn't show up on here, the phone number. Good, it doesn't. But you can see the timeline. Now this is a screenshot of the text that I sent to Lisa Lanuski. Good morning, Lisa. This is Suzanne Giesemann. Your daughter will not let me go back to sleep this morning. Can you believe that? When would you like to talk to her? So isn't it kind of fun to put yourself in Lisa's shoes? You know, you're a mom, a shining light parent, your daughter's across the veil, and a medium says, hey, your daughter's here, you want to talk to her? I mean, I know if a medium said that to me and said, Susan is here, I would jump on that. So it was kind of said tongue in cheek, because I know I would go through, as they say, hell or high water to hear from Susan, even though I'm a medium. It was just fun. So wait till you see the response I got back from Lisa. Here is the screenshot. Now notice, I emailed her at 6:17, I think it was. At 6:38, I texted her. Here's her text back to me. I don't have the timestamp on here, but here's Lisa's response. Oh my gosh, she's talking to Cheryl too. What should I do? And I shook my head and I said, you mean right now Amber is talking to someone else? Cheryl who? Now the reason I said Cheryl who is because I had completely forgotten that Cheryl, Paige, and Lisa were connected by the Froggy incident. Completely. This was over a year ago. I didn't know they'd become Facebook friends. So I said, Cheryl who? When she said Cheryl Paige, I thought it was strictly because Cheryl, as a result of opening up her abilities, is now a practicing medium and getting wonderful, wonderful evidence from across the veil. So I thought, this is crazy. Cheryl is talking to Amber at the same time I'm talking to her. And why is that possible, everybody? Because there is only here. And here is everywhere. Do you get that? That's why Brenda says she flies around and visits all of our friends at once. In fact, I know she's here with me tonight, and she's in Maine with the group of Souls Awakening. You can be everywhere when there's only here. All right. So let's see. I asked her, what time did Cheryl reach out to you? And she said 6:06. And I said, I take it you've had a reading with Cheryl. And she said, no. So I asked her, how have you two connected in the past? And she reminded me how Scott came in as an interloper back in July 2018. Now, what's funny is I had just spoken with Cheryl the day before for the first time in months. Why? Because when I arrived in Scottsdale, wonderful Bev, who's here with us tonight, leading this webinar with me, brought my mail from Florida. And in the mail was this card. I took a photo of it from Cheryl to me, just because card. And so I called her to thank her for the card. I was also thinking of Cheryl because of the carpet in the hotel room. Cheryl Paige and I are very much into sacred geometry, and I teach about this in a lot of my courses. And the carpet had these wonderful geometric shapes. You can see my toes on the carpet here, but I took that because Cheryl is a cancer researcher, and she had said that research says you shouldn't walk on hotel carpets barefoot because it's not good for your health because of the chemicals they use to clean it. And it was kind of like a little dig that I said, I'm not going to let fear to overtake me. Here I am on the carpet in my bare feet. Sorry, Cheryl. But clearly what I'm trying to set up here is the web of connections. So far we have Lisa and her daughter Amber. We have Cheryl and Froggy connecting me. I've been connecting with Cheryl the day before, with Lisa all weekend, and now Amber has dropped in on us. So I hope you're following me so far. So I figured, well, Cheryl's clearly up. She's been up since 6 because I know she's talking to Amber. I don't mind calling her at 7 in the morning. Well, first of all, we did set up and arrange to meet Lisa in my hotel room at 10. So I want to get back on track here. I arranged to meet with Lisa in my hotel room to bring through Amber. I wanted to call Cheryl and talk about this really cool thing that we were both talking to Amber at the same time. A drop-in, by the way, that's what we call it, because neither of us had expected this. But I first needed to sit and connect with Sanaya, my guides. As all of you know, I sit daily in meditation, and Sanaya gives me a message and then lots of teaching for me. Alrighty. So they provided some excellent teaching that I'm going to share with you at the end of this story part. When I came out of meditation, I posted Sanaya's message, and it was all about this web, just like this picture. How here, just picture each of us like a little shining star, like a light, and each of the nodes, the round dots in this carpet, is each of us as an energetic experience of the light, and we're all connected by these rays of light. All right, so now I've posted Sanaya. I look at my watch, it's after 7. Okay, I know Cheryl's up, I'm gonna call her. She picks up the phone, she sees my name, and she answers just by laughing. And instead of saying hello, quite out of character, but without saying hello, the first words out of my mouth to Cheryl were, "This is an amazing day." Remember that, okay? This is an amazing day. Cheryl laughed, and I asked her, what's going on with Amber? And she explained to me that she gets up and meditates, and that morning she wanted to review some notes she'd made in the back of a journal. Turns out that Cheryl, being a researcher, clearly, just like me, documents every one of her wonderful adventures in consciousness, adventures with spirit, the results of her readings. She documents it in journals. She had a stack of 8 journals, notes from different experiences, and she was pretty sure that the notes she wanted to review were in journal number 7 of 8. So before she sat to meditate, she had pulled out journal 7 and set it beside her. Okay. She's meditating, and there's a couple slides I missed, all right? She's meditating, and the image of Amber came into her mind. She recognized Amber from Lisa Lanuski's Facebook posts. Cheryl had never met Amber. That's really significant, but this is how spirits work. They put an image that we would recognize into our mind's eye, just like Wolf did the first time he dropped in on me. He put his parents' image in my mind's eye. Well, Cheryl has this wonderful way of getting evidence. She learned from me that when you sense something, you can ask for a sign. But the way Cheryl works, I love this. Every time, I think, or at least most of the time, she will randomly open whatever book she's drawn to in that moment and ask for the sign in the book. And wherever she opens, she gets the most amazing validations when she looks down at the page. So, sensing Amber present with her, she looks down at her side, sees journal number 7, and says, if this is Amber, if I can trust this, I want a sign in this journal. She opens up journal number 7, and here's the page. Look at what's at the top of it. Amazing day, Cheryl wrote. Now I know why those words came out of my mouth, but it gets way more amazing. This journal entry was not made July 7th, 2018. Look at the date, March 4th, 2019. Cheryl wrote, I asked Scott to send a sign via Suzanne Giesemann, and today a woman Suzanne Giesemann did a reading for on July 7th, Scott's anniversary, when Scott sent frogs hopping through her reading. Lisa Lanuski reached out to me after hearing my AREI talk from a couple of weeks ago. She was, and it goes on and on and on. If you are asking Amber, is this really you? I need a sign. Could there be anything more astounding than that? It just blew me away. But what's really cool is you can see this is a spiral notebook. Are you ready to see what's on the facing page? Here's a screenshot. I have to put my glasses on for this one. So this one was written March 5th. Notes from one of these monthly mentoring sessions. Connect regularly with higher consciousness. Ask your guides to let you know when a spirit is nearby. A replicable sign when a drop-in is here with you. And that's exactly what Amber was. Discernment comes from the heart. Set your intention to welcome drop-ins. Ask that they are evidential. We are working with intelligence, so have fun. And they are having fun too. I got to come out of the screen share for just a second here. Are you guys having fun with this story? If you are, raise your hand by clicking that hand thing down there. I hope you're following me. This web is just crazy, and then the teaching is about to follow. But it's just, I mean, how can you deny that that was Amber dropping in on two mediums, one of whom she'd never even met. I'm with her mom, ready to bring Amber through. This shows the intelligence of those in the spirit world. This shows that your loved ones on the other side know who you're with. This shows an intelligence far beyond the soul, doesn't it? And we're going to get to that in just a minute. So let me go back to screen share here. Okay. So Lisa showed up right on time, and we start talking to Amber, who hadn't gone anywhere. She was just hanging out, but where does she have to go? There's only here, right? Here is her experience. Here is my experience. Here is Lisa's experience, and the three experiences merged in the co-creative action of creating that experience together. You see how it works? All right. So Amber proceeded to give me evidence that it was really her. We captured her personality once again. It had been over a year since I did the reading, and her mom said, oh, this is my daughter. This is my daughter. And a few of the things she showed me was just some physical things going on with her mom. And then Amber drew my attention to her mom's eyelashes, and she went like this. And I said, Amber's saying your eyelashes are longer than normal, like you've been lengthening your eyelashes. And her mom said she had just put mascara on that morning for the first time in forever, in ages. And later I said to her, will you provide me later that morning a picture of Amber that I can use for the workshop later today to show people what Amber looks like? Get this, the very first picture of Amber that came up on Lisa Lanuski's phone is this one. It's Amber putting on mascara. You see, Amber knew that picture was in her mom's phone. She drew my attention to her mom's eyes, and it showed a current event. I know, Mom, I'm watching you put mascara on your own eyes. Way to go. Wow. All right. So then she had a message for her mom. She said that her mom was at a crossroads. She really needed to trust, really needed to believe everything that she was getting from the spirit world. And I know Lisa follows my Facebook page, and we share our mutual excitement and joy at these messages from Sanaya. So I know Lisa's path is unfolding beautifully as a result of trying to get to know that her daughter's across the veil. And Amber's message was, and we recorded this, there's no turning back, Mom. In other words, after all these events of that morning, the proof, talking to Cheryl and to me, there's no turning back. Well, later that day, Cheryl opened a book. I believe it was one that she was going to send to Lisa. She was just thumbing through it. Look at this quote. For those who have come to the crossroads, there is no turning back and nothing to go back to. I hope this teaching tonight propels you listening to this to want to know more and more and to understand more about how this all works. I'm trying to give you the broad brush picture, but we're going to get into some details here in a minute. So, all right, and there was Amber's message. You must keep moving forward, Mom. There's no turning back. All of us, that's why we're here, for the soul's growth, the soul's evolution, and joy. Our source loves our joy as we come to know we are this joy in expression. So now I want to share with you the teaching that Sanaya gave me that day. It was far more than just their daily message. Let me see. I'm going to come out of SlideShare so that I can fill the screen there. Okay. So Sanaya said to me, we as light beings, so what Sanaya is saying is that they're coming from a very, very high experiential level, did this, orchestrated this to show all of you how real soul energy, consciousness is, and how it's all connected. All of us, we're all connected now simply by being part of this experience this evening. And you'll start having synchronicities with each other. That's how it works. And I said to them, and Froggy, what's his role in all of this? And Sanaya said, yes, of course, he is involved in this. And I said, why the interloping by Froggy in the first place? Sanaya said, he had a message for Cheryl at the time and you were wide open. That established the Amber connection. And then they shouted at me the word autonomous. This is what you've been missing, they said to me. Because I was having trouble saying, you know, how does the soul fit into this? And then the light being and all of source. In other words, when I talk to someone in a reading, am I talking to a light being? Am I talking to a soul? Am I talking to a disembodied blended being? Help me understand this more. Who am I talking to? What level am I talking to? What aspect of consciousness when I do a reading, when any of us connect across the veil? That was my question. I wanted clarity. And they shouted autonomous. And what that means is self-governing, right? This is what you have been missing. This is why I wanted to record this, so you can go back if you miss any of this. Sanaya says, you can be one with source and yet go off on your little journeys. That's a direct quote they gave me from my Journey of Remembrance CD that any of you can get on my website. You can be one with source and yet go off on your little journeys, which is what we are doing right now. State your name. The Bev story, the Suzanne story, the Lynette story, the John story, the Rick story. We're all off on our journeys as souls in a body, blended beings. Yet go off on your little journeys like the proverbial prodigal sons. This is the gift of the Father. Now, when I heard Sanaya say that, some of you may even say, whoa, Sanaya's speaking in religious terms there, the prodigal son, the gift of the Father. It kind of unsettled me for a moment. Just remember that. We'll get back to that. But it's very relevant, isn't it? Because we're like the prodigal sons that go off from source. We're the souls that descended from the light beings that descended from source, yet all connected, all connected. We are that source and expression. That is part of the creative experience of consciousness. Look, they used that word experience a couple weeks ago, and now it's all just coming together. Source is having through each of its light beings. So in other words, us, you and me as blended beings, going off on our little journeys in this earth experience are in a way programmed. That's part of the creative experience of consciousness that Source is having through each of its light beings, who in turn are having creative experiences through the souls that descend from the light beings, which then have creative experiences as blended beings, and then begin the return trip as soul, light being, source. So this is so cool. When I shared what I just shared with you for the workshop participants at the Soul Summit Scottsdale, many of whom you are listening tonight, and read that part about the prodigal son and the gift of the Father, I said, this is kind of unusual language for Sanaya. We took a break and a woman came up to me in the audience and said, Suzanne, you don't realize, look at, oh, I gotta share the screen. No. This one is really cool. All right. The message from Sanaya using prodigal son was given to me, as you see here, September 15th. That's the date all of this unfolded, 2019. And she said, Suzanne, today in the lectionary, which is used by Catholics and many other religions all around the world so that everybody chooses the same reading today, is Luke 15, 132, the prodigal son story. Can we ask for greater evidence from Sanaya that was really coming from a higher place. I didn't even know what a lectionary was. I had to look it up, and then I couldn't wait to go to September 15th, was it? Oh, a month ago. Yeah, had to look it up, and sure enough, prodigal son. No wonder they use that language. That's how they seamlessly worked in the evidence. This is your fellow light beings giving you this teaching, so trust it. All right. Evidence from the highest level of this teaching. So let me continue with their teaching for you. This is what Sanaya continued to say. Amber and Scott are souls, autonomous, just like you guys listening now are, playing their roles, as are you and Cheryl and Lisa. It doesn't matter if you're in a body or outside of a body. They said there is no urgent message from Amber. I'm going to go back to slides for a second here. Okay. Amber simply sees an opportunity to send her parents love. And this slide here is just to show you that every time we have a thought, it radiates out from us. These thoughts are shown coming from the brain, but they radiate from our heart, from our entire energy field as souls. So Amber sees an opportunity to send her parents love and to provide teaching to many, all of you listening tonight, as a result of this cooperative use of consciousness between her and Froggy. Notice the cooperation. They've met across the veil. And why wouldn't they? There's only here. There is only the experience of consciousness. Descending, 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 ascending, playing, interacting, the web. They interacted knowing that all of this will be shared by both you and Cheryl to many blended beings who are ripe to hear these words. I hope you're ripe to hear these words. So this is one thing, a picture that Sanaya's had me use in my teaching for years, that they said, picture your maps like in the back of an airline magazine and picture certain cities that are hubs. Every one of you listening tonight is a hub of consciousness. Picture that carpet picture, the little nodes, the little lights and the lines connecting them. We are the light, whether we're a soul, whether we're in a body or out of body, whether we're at the light body level. These are just different experiences of the light. And every time we interact with another aspect of that light, it sets up a circuit like you see here. This is the web of connections. This is why Amber was able to connect so easily with me. We had set up a circuit a year ago, and that circuit between Cheryl and her mom allowed Amber to come in on that web. How cool is this? And Sanaya said, and I wrote, the web, the web, the web. How can you not all be connected when there is only one mind thinking up this whole experience in each now moment? Because there is only here and there is only now. So more from Sanaya. Yes, you can see this as light beings orchestrating the whole thing. And this goes back to the teaching earlier this evening about the Betamax, okay? Not quite a virtual reality, not quite a VCR. So what they're saying is you can see this as light beings orchestrating this whole thing, but not quite, you see? Because it's, as Sanaya said, each step down version, souls and blended beings, must be paying attention to the thoughts coming in from the light being orchestrators, whether aware of the connection or not. This is key. And add your own flavoring and choice making to the mix. See, we are free will souls. That's why this whole experience, the earth experience, is evolving and unfolding as we autonomous souls, yet fully connected, get to make choices, yet fully guided at all times by the higher aspects of ourselves as the light, not separate from that light being, or ever from source. Yet as awareness of this experience of being separate, it's not an illusion, it's an experience of separation. It's just an experience through sensations, thoughts, and feelings. Through that, we get to make the return trip, which is what all of us are doing together tonight, as we say, somehow I'm getting this, okay? Now, here's another key. As Sanaya explained it, and as many of you have heard, the key to understanding this, rather than linear, I'm a blended being, I'm also a soul, I'm a light being, I'm source, and so is everybody else. See this as holographic. See this in its wholeness, okay? See the possibilities, Sanaya said. And when it all comes together, they said, is it not magical? And I hope you would all agree with me. This is one wild ride. Oh, that's so cool. They just showed me Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Cheryl Page, you gotta love that. Oh, all right. All right, that's some old story. I don't remember who wrote it, but right around the same age as Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland is very much like that. Was that a dream, or was that simply an experience of source? All right, there's more. What you must come to understand, Sanaya said, is that the soul known as Amber and the soul known as Scott, Froggy, did indeed work together, making individual choices. Yet at another level, there is only one being, rejoicing in this playfulness. They were making a play on the words that we are all simply spirit being, having experiences. And Spirit has told me to call it joy. Don't call it God, call it joy. And joy loves joy. And I am so joyful to share all of this with you this evening, knowing that many of you are saying, this makes sense, and isn't that joyous? Sanaya says, stop trying to figure it out so precisely and feel the dance. Flow with where it goes. But just know that as real and individuated as you can feel as a human being, then as a soul, then as a light being, each one is autonomous, meaning self-governing, yet connected to the all at the same time. It has to do with where you put your focus. As medium, this is key. We have to make that holy shift and put our focus on the big picture, on the wholeness, and not on the blended being sitting in a chair connecting with what appears to be another blended being. Yes, they are, but there's so much more at play here. It's a dance. All right, so now I'm shown by Spirit, I gotta pull up the slide, an image to show us how we can view ourselves as holographic. This is where the teaching really, if you thought this was deep, that's why I said buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. This is the light projecting itself outward, right? And as I said in one of my previous presentations, this very first expression of the light would be this, a thought bubble, which we're going to call a light being. And it's going to contain all of the same qualities of the light itself. It's going to know it exists. It's going to be aware of having an experience. And as more and more light beings erupt from this pure being of the light, they know they're connected. And that connection that you and I feel with each other tonight, that is the connection that all light beings share. And that's love. Can you feel it? Can you feel that right now? What I'm radiating at you, so grateful to be sharing with my fellow light beings as we all awaken. All right. We know at the soul level, and certainly at the light being level, it goes without question. We are not separate. We are the light. And that trickles down into our awareness. We decide as light beings to send a part of ourselves out on adventures. What a great idea that was from the light being level, right? So we create little offsprings of ourselves, little prodigal sons to go off on little journeys. But what are we going to call them? We'll call them souls. But we're all just extensions created in the image of the light being, which is created in the image of the Father, if we want to put it in religious terms, which is simply the light, joy that bubbles up because it can't help but create, extend itself, go out and love, and never forgetting, I am, I exist, I experience. So that morning in meditation, Sanaya showed me how to picture subsets within subsets, the light descending down into light beings, descending down into souls. And I realized we're getting into sacred geometry now. So picture we have the original light that bursts forth into somewhat of a form, but really just consciousness. And they showed me that perhaps we could have, if you look at this picture, we have a light being, and then it creates a copy of itself as a soul. This is my PowerPoint version of the drawing they gave me in meditation. And so a soul blends with a body and becomes a blended being, but what happens when we lose the body? We're still a subset of the soul, right? Aha, this is another way of viewing it then. It's the same soul, but it's either incarnated or disembodied. Well, some of you who study sacred geometry may recognize that figure right there. It's called the flower of life. Sacred geometry is using geometric shapes to explain the evolution of the soul. That's what makes it sacred. And this is one of the most ancient symbols in sacred geometry. You can find it on ancient stone tablets in China, in Egypt, all around the world, because those before us must have gotten downloads as well from light beings. But I'm being told there's only now, so we're not going to get into time and all that. But in any case, look at the grid. It's on the grid behind it. Look at my earrings tonight. Can you see them? I purposely wore my flower of life earrings. I'm going to use sacred geometry now to help you see how all this fits together. But meanwhile, Sanaya gave me the image of nested dolls. Nested dolls. You all might have seen the Russian dolls. They all fit into each other. That's what they're showing me. You have you as a blended being, which fits inside, which is really the human body, and the soul, the greater aspect of the body, that is part of a light being that is just part of source. Yet, when you get at the source level, it contains all that is. It's just expressing in more and in smaller and smaller, infinite expressions of itself, experience, being. Okay, it's holographic, is what Sanaya said. So I shared this with Bev in the hotel. Bev, I'm going to tell on you now. She had some great insights too. And I got Lynette on Zoom and I said, I got to share with you all these downloads I've been getting from Sanaya this morning and this story with Amber. And Bev added, you know, for her, what it meant was she finally realized it's not like I'm a separate soul and I have to go out and make this connection with my loved ones who have passed. It's all right here. That's what holographic means. There's not a bubble out there that knows something out there that I don't know. We light up a spark in each other to remember. That's like the hub. That's the consciousness going out and lighting up circuits in this grid, this flower of life, all these spheres interconnected, smaller and larger, but all within the whole, infinite, in and out in size. Bev says, we're not missing out on anything. It's not like somebody out there knows something you don't have access to. All you have to do is set an intention and light up the web. It's this universal mind lattice, this grid is like our internet. And to access it for information, it's like accessing the internet with Google. You put in your mind the intention to seek a connection with someone or to seek certain information, and a memory isn't in your mind, it's in the field, it's in the grid. Your intention is a wave that goes out and lights up a circuit to exactly that field of information, that pattern. Because even within you are patterns and smaller interrelated spheres, energy events bubbling up from the same source. Sanaya's message to us that morning was, it is all one big web. Have you not heard this before? Just as you have friends here and you reach out to each other from time to time and enjoy the synchronicities, when you were thinking the same thing happens across the veil. I'm going to get out of share here. Okay. Just because you no longer have a body does not mean the same kind of thought intersecting does not continue to happen. It's one big grid. And when two thoughts have intersected, they can always do so again. It is one tangled web of consciousness, yet quite orderly, actually. Think flower of life. Pay attention to the strands and pull the strings. In a way, Source is pulling your strings. Yet you can act on your own should you choose. Not quite a VCR, not quite a virtual reality. You can act on your own. Choose well, why don't you? Make the choice to see how interconnected you all are and send each other love. That love is most certainly coming your way from the more deeply embedded levels of the web. You are so very loved. Now I have a few more slides because after I shared with Bev and Lynette, I looked at my watch. I was trying to put all these slides together to share it with everybody a couple hours later in the workshop. And I thought, I need to get a workout in. I need to get some exercise. And Sanaya said, go to the gym. You have a half an hour. I mean, it's that clear, the guidance. So I go to the gym. I think I know what the next slide is. I hope it is. I can't see the next slide coming up. But I had this aha moment as I was sitting on one of the machines doing bicep curls, looking at myself in the mirror. I hope it's the next slide. It is. And I grabbed the phone and took a picture. This is my reflection, just as all of this story I'm sharing with you was unfolding. And it was so clear what Sanaya was saying. Look at the successive images. Here is the very solid one. It appears solid and dense. That would be the blended being level that we think is nice and solid and here. Yet look a little further and you see a more diminished version. That's not smaller, it's just more distant in our awareness from the human level. That would be the soul. But look back here, now it's getting even a little bit more misty. That would be the light being. And back here, we're just dissolving. Yet it's all the same being. Put yourself in that chair. We're all these nested Russian dolls. Right after Sanaya shows me this image of the nested Russian dolls, I look up and they said, pay attention. This is what they're talking about, pulling the strings. We pull the strings when we get insights and ask, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this? And as I looked at that, after taking the picture, I just stayed looking in the mirror and the download came to me that all of us can choose our perspective at any time. And this is the key of the whole evening here, that we can choose to focus only on the story of you, state your name. I could live this life as the Suzanne story and have the normal ups and downs and have a wonderful or a terrible experience, and my soul would be no worse for the wear. But oh, how joyous is it as I come to envelop both in awareness, as this circle shows, the Suzanne story and the soul that I know is beyond. That's just the blended being. But then the more you come to know who you are, you expand your awareness to include all aspects of you. You get this? You are all of these right here, right now, source expressing as this light being, and a specific aspect of that light being decided to become soul which decided to incarnate in a body and have your experience right now. And because it's all holographic, we project out in all directions. And if we could, I didn't have a picture of everybody looking in the mirror, but imagine that's all of us here tonight, all being projected from, that's the heart chakra symbol in the middle, the light projecting from the heart of all that is 7 billion souls right now in a body, and all of them interconnected. One big web. One big web. This is a depiction of a concept called Indra's net in Hindu teaching, that there exists this web of energy, and each one of us is a jewel in Indra's net. And as these shining lights, these shining jewels that we are, we reflect each other. We reflect each other. So Amber's story, Lisa's story, I know Lisa's listening tonight. I'm so grateful to you for allowing us to share this. Lisa, I'm grateful to Amber from her disembodied soul aspect, sharing with us the Amber story, helping us all to see this connection that we share with each other. I wonder if I can go back. Well, just the flower of life web. Picture this. Look at each dot in the center there. That represents you and me at this level of experience, but it could just as easily be nested, just like the Russian dolls, and represent a group of light beings. Take it down, and it could be a group of cells within a body, and nested within that is a group of quarks that are all interconnected, working together for the whole of the next level up, and the whole holographic thing. All is connected. What does this mean for us? You're not alone. You're completely loved. We are part of this great source that just expresses itself as a light being, that expresses itself as a soul, that decides to play a role as disembodied soul or blended being in a human body, all nested together, and we get to choose once we awaken. Hopefully some of you are having a huge awakening this evening. This makes sense. I'm speaking to your left brains tonight, but from the heart, integrating the energy with the logic in a balanced way, so you can understand how you can be a soul and a human having this experience, yet expanding your consciousness to envelop all of this at any time for the insights, for the guidance, tapping into any aspect of consciousness, calling on Jesus or Buddha or Archangel Michael to help you when you need it, calling on your guides, calling on your loved ones across the veil to help you when you want to connect with them. Why is that possible? Because we are all here. As Brenda showed earlier, giving the evidence with lipstick, there is nowhere else but here. And we call up whatever experience we want simply through our intention. I want to connect with my loved one who has passed. I set that intention from the heart, and it is the holy shift that makes that possible. My intention this evening was to empower you to know I am that. But change the wording and make it I am this field of intelligent light. I am this. And when I am in that state of awareness, I can fulfill my dreams. I can have what I want in my life as it serves the greater good. I can know myself as love. I can make magic happen. Whew. I want to make sure I got all the slides. this gear shift is the perfect analogy for how you may want to visualize our ability as souls to have adventures in consciousness. We are this. This gear shift represents, let me get down, let me see what else is here. Yeah, I'll share that with you in a sec. This gear shift represents the sphere that I share with you, the light, right? The whole field. A circle contains all that is. It's the perfect sacred geometry shape for oneness. These numbers could possibly represent different experiences we can have in consciousness. You might want to call it a reality. So pick a number that's our earthly experience. To connect with alternate experiences of reality, to connect with loved ones who have passed, simply slip out of gear into neutral. Now you've merged with the whole field. From this state of neutral, gliding along, from this state of simply being in neutral as the light, focusing on no one experience, now we set an intention. I want to connect with a loved one. That intention automatically will help you shift into the correct gear, will automatically help you shift to the right experience. So I want to connect with Brenda Baker. On the other side, I slip into neutral. That means that's the surrender part of my Bless Me method. That means I no longer am focusing on my earthly experience as a blended being. I want to connect with Brenda. The soul and my higher aspects know where to meet Brenda. It's going to be right here because there's only here. And I just shift, and here we go. Brenda's right here. Our intention, our mutual intention to raise the greater good draws us together. And that's how it works. I noticed a little chat there. Somebody wrote, this is a lot to process. Don't I know it? 2 full hours of fire hosing with you and this with you. But this is why Sanaya said, these are seeds. These are seeds. Some of you have heard bits and pieces of this before. Everybody's going to teach in a different way. This is the way my guides have taught me, and I'm sharing with you. You may or may not get a lot of this evening, but then you'll hear it from another teacher, or you'll read it yourself, or your own guides will download it, and all the pieces of this flower of life experience that we're having come together in a way that your soul created for you as a blended being to have. It's so perfect. But if I do anything this evening, it's hopefully awaken you to look for the magic, to look for the connections, okay? Bev, I think, sent a meme to me earlier, and that's my last slide this evening. It's just so cool. In religion, we call it spirit. In science, we call it energy. In the streets, we call it vibes. All I'm saying is trust it. Isn't that great? So we've been talking a lot tonight about energy events. You could call them spiritual uprisings. At the light being level where all of us meet right now, they're applauding. They're so happy you're listening and that you're getting this. We don't use words. Words are unnecessary. So just soak this into your soul. Go to sleep if you can sleep with your head not going, it's going to explode. and just let go of it. Like they said, don't try to think this through too much. Certain words will have resonated with you this evening, and your path will just continue unfolding perfectly. If I were to summarize what I'd like you to take from this, it's my goal when I sent out that email that brought many of you here for the first time was to show you who you really are. We all get that we're more than this physical body. And by the time you come to one of these webinars, you know this, you hope this is true. But this is just another way of knowing, and knowing is beyond the brain analyzing things. It's the way of knowing how you fit in the big picture, this nested being that is you. Wow. That's why I'm excited about the Shift Network course. It's my basic mediumship class, but spread out over 7 weeks of an hour and a half and 1.5 hour practice, because this is a lot in 2 hours, but I get to spread it out, and little by little we each get to make that connection. So I really don't think I should ask questions. No, Bev's saying, no, please don't ask questions. But there were a couple of things I just wanted to add some notes here. Oh, I had promised to share with you, and we're going to probably wrap it up with this. A way of seeing each other, a way of seeing ourselves, so that we see the light in each other, even in those we don't resonate with. You'll never hear me saying I don't like someone, because that's a very human thing. I may not resonate with someone's energy, spirit, light, vibe, but I know who we all are. So what Sanaya showed me in the midst of all this teaching is, if you can imagine this one light that flows from all of us, that connects all of us throughout this universal mind matrix of which we're all a part, this field of love light, this love energy that connects us. Picture it as a sun with all these rays of light going out from it. Why, at the top we'd have the light, and it becomes the light beings, and along these rays, the energy condenses into souls, and the energy of each individual ray, the soul condenses into a body and becomes a human being. The imagery I'd like to leave you with this evening is what Sanaya showed me. Picture each of us like dewdrops, okay? You have the drop of water that represents you and me in a physical form, the blended being. But what makes the dewdrop visible to us, what makes it sparkle, what makes it shine, is that ray of light. Can you picture a spark, a whole, maybe a leaf with all of these sparkling dewdrops in it? Well, they're sparkling because the sun is shining on them. And they said, you to us look like dewdrops. So when you look at each other, if you can see each of us as the physical form, yet we are visible to each other because of the light that shines through each other, then we're seeing, just like I didn't see Brenda, but I knew she's there, we are seeing the light in each other. And I see this ray of light coming down to you. And the physical body is like the water droplet, but it's the light that makes you visible to me. And I may not resonate with somebody's actions or somebody's words, but I see the light. And what Sanaya had me do was draw a sun, and I'd like you to do this. We're going to end with this exercise tonight. Picture in your mind, why don't you close your eyes for a moment, and picture a sun with rays going out. And the ray comes down and lights up you. Feel the warmth as it goes through your body. That sun also comes from your heart outwards. It can't be any other way in a holographic experience. But for now, picture yourself connected to source, one with it, and your being is lighted up by that ray. Now I'd like you to see yourself surrounded by dewdrops, just like you. And we're going to give one of them the name of somebody you love. And just say, like I would say, that's Ty Dewdrop. I know this sounds silly, but play with me. Spirit loves this. Joy loves joy. So there's the Ty Dewdrop. And now give, say, another dewdrop, the name of somebody else who you care deeply about. And I could put every one of your names on there. Okay, that's the so-and-so dewdrop. And now on another one, put the name of somebody. If you saw them coming, you might want to run and hide. And I hope that makes you laugh, but you do know what I'm talking about. Can you see them with that same light beam coming down? And now put on another dewdrop, someone else you care deeply about. And now on another dewdrop, put the name of somebody who's hurt you in the past. Nothing's changing, is it? They're just forms who are autonomous in a way, making choices, because that's what we do in human form. You can open your eyes now. And yet, beyond the form, we're each autonomous souls. Going farther up the light beam, we are autonomous light beings, but they would argue with us right now if they had words. What they're really doing is filling us now with that light. Soak it up and know we are this. Joy as us. That is joy us. I am grateful beyond words to my team for the ongoing teaching. I'm grateful to share this with all of you tonight. I apologize if I burnt out any circuits in anybody this evening. But Bev will do her best to get this out to you within 2 to 3 days, this video. And if you're so inspired, you can go back and listen again and hopefully it'll make sense. But we planted seeds and now you get to fertilize it and hopefully go out and spread that sunshine on everybody around. I love you all so much. I see the light in you and it's such a joy to share. Thank you. Thank you, Bev. And I do apologize for not answering questions tonight. I will do a special Facebook Live question and answer session for free sometime after my Sacred Call of Mediumship class gets started and we get that underway, and I have the time to do that. But hopefully in the next month or two, I'll do a big, nothing but Q&As. How's that sound? We're going to bring you all